Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to see so many of you here. That's really nice always to have a really nice audience. Yeah, so there might be a few more people joining, but I'm just going to get started because I really like you guys are on time. So that's really something nice. We are here getting dream clients consistently reach 10K months. That's kind of that magic number that, at least in the European context, that really gives like a lot of freedom that allows to just explore and live the life you really want. And I have seen that myself, what a change it can make to my life. And I have been working with many clients in the past, actually reaching that part as well. So it's really exciting to share a few of my secrets today with you as well. Now, what we cover today is we're going to start with one part around messaging and how to define your target audience. And like you've heard that so many times, you've seen that so many times, I'm going to show you why it is like everybody always starts with that part. This is not like the only part, but it's kind of like the most important part to have a clearly defined target audience, or maybe 2 or 3 target audiences that make sense for you. The second part is then we're really going to dive into how to build value into your offer structure. So you might have varying offers from a coaching service, maybe for some sort of a freelancing, a consulting service, something that falls in between those lines. But there might be an offer that you have, and offering that value, being really clear about that, that's a really important part there. And the third step is then talking around, like when we talk about reaching 10K months, it's really also around pricing, money mindset, because that's a big base of how to reach that without actually burning out and working 80-hour weeks, because who wants that if you're really honest? Now, this workshop is for you, and I'm just going to put this out there very clearly. If you feel like, hey, this is not really me, then I'm going to give you back the 45 minutes. So this is for people who really love what they're doing and the impact they have on their clients, on the environment, on the people they touch with their services. You might be working hard and your results sometimes come and sometimes they just don't come and you don't really know why. It's actually hard for you maybe to find time to work on the business instead of just being in it and working with clients. The time to have to work on the business and really make improvements, create consciously a business that really works for you and not the other way around. That's a really important step. Maybe you're flirting with burnout or overwhelm, so that kind of like these really long hours, these really long days and weeks, that might be a thing for you as well. And you're not quite sure how to get your next client or how to do the marketing that really creates results. So if this is you, this webinar today is really for you, and we're going to dive right in. Now, for me, that was a dream. And I also think there's something around in you that drives you, that you want to have a consistent stream of clients that you're actually excited to be working with. You would like to have a clear, repeatable marketing process, and you would like to reach your income and freedom goals without actually burning out. This is just for you to give a little bit of context, what is possible, where we are working towards, and what kind of is on the back of this webinar, what's kind of the goal of this as well, what I'm teaching today here. Now, real quick about myself, I'm Miguel. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've set up some businesses, some actually failed miserably, I have to admit, and some actually worked really well and I was able to sell as well. I've been leading corporate teams in the past. My last gig was at Philips, leading a team of data analysts and data scientists. And since about 6 years, I'm working as a career and leadership coach. And I'm more and more focused also on the business building part, because I realized that experience from my startups, that's so valuable. And I want to put that also in place in helping others succeed in their business. Now, my journey, and that's just like real quick, because I think there's a lot for you to see as well, because there were a lot of, let's say, I don't want to call them failures, but missteps or maybe misassumptions or limiting beliefs I had along the way of my own journey. So I really want to kind of like give you a taste of what it could be, and where maybe yourself also could be along the lines. Like a couple of years ago, I did my coach training, and it felt really like for me coming home. And that might be for you a different kind of like step into a passion of yours, something that you really enjoy, that you want to do more of, that you want to build and increase and actually make your own living. For me, that was kind of like a part-time gig, working full-time as a leader at Philips, but also coaching, and that sometimes I was just too busy. So I decided to leave corporate And I thought I could do this myself. I had like successful startups and initiatives and projects. I got this. I don't need to worry about money or the financial side or the business side of that. I thought I had this. But to be honest, like they were kind of okay, but struggling, and it just didn't fully work out for me, to be honest. Like it was, I could survive, but there was nothing like thriving. There were like holidays were always kind of like, yeah, let's say not so fun. And at some point I really had this moment of like, hey, should I go back to, crawl back to the corporates? And I really didn't want that. So I decided to take myself serious also as a business owner in that space of being a coach. And I learned from the best in sales and marketing. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time actually learning from many different experts. How do you actually make a successful coaching business? How do you make a successful consultant or freelance business? And there are a lot of things I learned along the way. And with that learning, with that moment of here, I want to take myself serious and I want to take my business serious. That's kind of what got me to steady 10K months, sometimes much higher than that as well. A clear process to create new clients if I have open spots, to be honest. So it's kind of like when I need clients, I know how to create them. And that's the beauty of this system that we're also going to dive into a little bit today with that in mind. But enough about me, because you're not here to just hear my story. You also want to see like the points that I want to teach here. So let's get into that. The first part is really about messaging. And it's messaging to reach your dream clients. It's not just like you put stuff out there and then there's like crickets. There's nothing coming back. And I've done that. And there's never a guarantee that what you put out there that's going to land, that's going to resonate. That's also not a problem in itself. But there should be once in a while, you should have like that message that hits the mark, that hits your clients. And then you kind of like, you create and generate this flow of clients that reaches out to you. Now, how to do that? There are 3 steps and 3 key points I wanted to highlight. The first part is to have a clear picture who your dream client is and what their problems, aspirations, what do they want working with you. And the very, very simple step here is make some sort of a description of your target audience or target audiences. And if you feel like, I'm serving everybody, if you're serving everybody, you usually don't serve anyone at all. So it's kind of like really try at least to have maybe 2 or 3 descriptions, and I'm going to give you 2 tools in a moment how you can do that and how you can describe your target audience. And then reach out to them, talk to them. And maybe that could be your perfect clients you had worked in the past. Reach out to them and say, hey, do you have 20 minutes? I would like to ask you a few questions. Maybe there's a few people that you feel like, hey, I would like to work with. Maybe there's friends of friends, of ex-colleagues, of colleagues of yours. Reach out to people and talk to these people and really do some investigative journalism question, asking them and really understanding the words they're using, the phrases they're using, because how you describe the problem or the goal or the aspiration they might be having and how they are describing it, that might be completely different worlds. And it's really important for your messaging later on that you're understanding what are the words the clients are using, potential clients of yours or the dream clients of yours. What are they resonating with? Because then you can play it back to them in messaging and they actually will like it. They actually will understand it. They will actually connect with your messaging and talk to you and reach out to you because they feel that you get them. The second part is around your personal story. And if you're in the business of coaching or consulting or this freelancing service-oriented business, there's always a component of yourself in that mix. People always want to work with you for your skills, but also with you for your personality, for what you bring, what makes you unique. And what I have seen with my clients that work often in the coaching space, but also in different areas, if their personal story is aligned with the messaging from their clients, that's actually when the magic happens. That's actually when things become effortless. When you build in value, when you build in the words from the clients and your own story, your own experiences, your own kind of learning struggles and what you have overcome, This is when people start to see you as a human being and really like and enjoy what things are about. So that's something you can craft a value statement. You can just say like, hey, what do I stand for? What makes me unique? Something that, serves you as a guiding post for, that could be just a few values. That could be a full statement. If you Google for value statement, there's a few phrases you can use. Whatever it is, try to find these gold nuggets and connect them with each other. And that makes it really powerful what you're going to talk about. And the third part is then really using marketing activities, and that can be offline or online, that in the end create this consistent flow of messages, client intake calls, sales calls. And that's actually the goal you want, that you want people to reach out to you. You don't want to do this reaching out and being desperate and talking to people. You want to like stand with your offer, and then through your marketing activities, you want people to contact you and reach out to you. And that's something, as I mentioned before, not every LinkedIn post can get like 500,000 likes and I don't know, 17 comments and 15 clients out of that. It can also just be that you post something, it doesn't work, and that's fine. But with that work you did before, with these market research calls, with that combination of your own story, test a few messages out there and you will see what resonates with your audience and what doesn't. And don't pay attention to the likes and comments, but how many people actually reach out to you? How many people are interested in a follow-up conversation that was triggered by what you shared? So this is really important, to not focus on the vanity metrics, as I call them, but really on the metrics that matter to your business, which at the end of the day are sales calls, conversations, and the euros at the end of the day. So these are three. There was a lot of stuff I put on you real quick here in a very short time. These are 3 points regarding the messaging part that's really, really important. Now, I said before that for this first part around defining your dream clients, who they are and how they look like, there's a few tools. One is a very simple tool, thinking in demographics and psychographics. That's something you can use. Demographic, it's just like age and what kind of like training they've had maybe as well. But also some more psychographics. What makes them a human? What makes them special? What kind of values do they have maybe as well? Now, this is one tool, and the other tool is called the empathy map canvas, and you probably can't really read it, all of it here, but I just wanted to show it to you. That's really when you start understanding your clients. You can also use that as kind of like your guideline for questions in the space when you do the market research calls. These questions can help you to really understand your clients. And that means not just that one aspect that maybe has to do with you and your business. You want to understand the client in its entirety. Because maybe you're talking to parents, a father that is full-time at home, takes care of the kids, and then that he has maybe certain needs, has maybe certain questions that go beyond what you are offering. But being able to bond with him on that level, to recognize, to kind of connect with him on that, might be really, really valuable for you to build authority as somebody that's trusted in that space of what of that service you're offering. So really understand your dream clients on a very, very deep level. And that's when you start having this messaging, everything else, the topics, the blog posts, the LinkedIn posts, the networking events you're going to, the presentations you're giving. That's when all these things become easier. So that was the part around messaging. Now, the second part I wanted to talk about with you and share a little bit more is how to build value into your offer structure. And that is still very much connected to the area of how you communicate and how you talk about it. Now, there's 3 different parts around the value of your offer. And that's basically, that works for almost any service, that works for almost any kind of service-based business that you have, that works in one or the other way like that. The first part is really about the value. What is the value you're offering? That's the most important part. And if you only take one thing away from this, then one is like do the market research calls, and the second part is talk about value. talk about the value you are providing. The value is basically the outcome that a client gets from spending money and time with you, very simply put. So what value are they getting at? Is it a problem that's being solved? Is it a goal that's being reached? Is it an aspiration that's being met? Is it a basic need that they're getting covered? What is the value they're getting out of that? And again, it might not be the same as you might phrase it and as you might think. So it's really important to understand what's your client's value. So again, going back to the market research call, really understand the value you are providing, your services are providing to your clients. And that might be hard to describe. That might be easy to describe. Having it clearly laid out in front of you is a really important step, because that's the basis when you talk about the marketing messages. And marketing messages can be any kind of public show of appearance, basically, that you have. If you show up somewhere, that's kind of what you want to talk about. It's the value. Here are a few examples: getting a role as a board member. So it's really a high level thing. They want to, like, this big promotion. Finally, they want to have a job that excites them, or they want to make 10K per month in their business. So these are the things that are on this high level, this value part, that are important. Then the second part of these are the benefits. And the benefits really are smaller pieces of that value. You break it down, and that might be, let's see, that could be they have a feeling of being comfortable presenting to the board. So it's kind of like not that big thing of becoming a board member, but kind of like something that gets them towards their big goal. It's something that they get as well. But it could also be having more time to go to the gym, having more time with their family, saving for the pension. That's not what gets the clients to buy. These are not the reasons why the clients buy from you. So it's really important to have the value, these big ticket items that really gets people excited. Because you wouldn't be here, let's be honest, like you're here probably for the 10K months, right? That's kind of the big thing you want to achieve. You're not here to, if I would have had a workshop, how to save for your pension with your freelance business, probably not 10% of you would have shown up. So that's the difference when you talk about the benefits versus the value. So the benefits is something you can talk about in a one-on-one conversation you have. Somebody has already reached out to you because they have seen the value. You mention the value again. If that's aligned, then you can talk about the benefits of working with you. And the third step then, let's see if that comes. These are the features. And the features is something I see a lot of people in a service-based business talk about. You don't mention them. You only mention them when they say, okay, I want to buy, I want to work with you. That's when you talk about the features of your program. There's very, very, very few exemptions from that. Because most people that talk about, hey, I have a coaching framework, or I have a career assessment, or there's a free goal setting session, or we have accountability, or there's kind of like you can download the files in a Dropbox. Like, compared to what I actually want as a client, like I want to get in, I want to become a board member of this corporate. Like, I don't really care if the homework is done in Google Drive or in Dropbox. So that's stuff that might become later in the buying process relevant, because, okay, that needs to be aligned maybe. But try to not talk about the features. And that's kind of like a thing I see many people do, is kind of talking about the features way too early in the process. Now, this is the kind of structure of how you can build value in. It all, again, goes back to understanding your clients and having these done these market research calls, so you really understand what is the big ticket item, what is the value that your clients want. And then the third part for today, that is the money mindset. And that's something that for some people is easy. For many people, it's easy to do for other people or for things that are not themselves. But when we talk about a service-based business, you're selling yourself as well. And that is sometimes all of a sudden, imposter comes up. Am I good enough? Am I important enough? Can I charge this much? Can I really charge what I actually want to charge and need to charge in order to make a living and not just survive, but actually thrive in my business and life. So these things just come up because it's you and not just a laptop or a dress that you're selling. Now, the first question, that's a really simple one, but what is your pricing strategy right now? And that could be you're selling packages, that could be you're selling one-off, that could be like a flat rate, that could be a payment plan. Whatever that is it aligned with where you want to get to? Is it aligned with your client? Is it aligned with where you need to get to as well? So what's kind of like that strategy behind there? Is there kind of like maybe a 3-tier offering? Do you have VIP packages? Do you have entry-level packages? How does that all work together? That also, there's I'm going to get to that in a second, how you can actually make some steps in that, also kind of upgrade that pricing. The second part is really around what's your connection with money. Do you like it? Most people like it, but sometimes if you go beyond that, there's a little bit more that connection with, do you have that mindset of there's always enough or there's never enough? Some people have that when they have money, it has to be spent right away. Like they cannot have enough money, or they can't have money on the bank account. It has to go somewhere. Or some people, no matter how much they have in the bank account, it's never enough. So check your own kind of connection with money. Are there any limiting beliefs? Is there maybe some stories from your parents, from your family, that's kind of like unconsciously, that's why there's some work needed as well to uncover those. Are there maybe some stories around that keep you from actually showing up, being okay with asking for a big price, and really going for that number that you're actually worth? And yeah, again, like what are your beliefs around it? Like never enough, always being around, like, do I have to spend it? Like there's so many beliefs that can be underlying that. Just take some time to maybe what's come out. Also, when you hear myself talking now, is there some resistance? Are you saying like, oh, this is bullshit? Watch for these kind of clues, because what your reactions right now might also be pointing to something that's actually underneath, certain resistance that might be there, and that might need to be just like named, uncovered, and that already helps you moving forward. And then I've always adopted a playful approach and to also adjust my pricing. And I started pricing, like I started with €5 for a coaching session with me. That was like many years, many moons back. But there's a few things. And the first one is setting your target pricing structure. That doesn't mean that you have to go right away from where you are today to your target pricing. But your target pricing is, I just take an example of €10,000 a month. That's what you want to earn. How many hours do you want to work? How many billable hours maybe do you have as well? How many clients does that mean? How many, and then you can, price your hour accordingly. For example, I want to work 15 hours a week max in a paid engagement, for example. So what does that mean if I want to reach 15,000, 20,000 euros a month, 10,000 euros a month? How do I calculate that? And it gives you an hourly rate. And that doesn't mean that that's kind of like you need to bill by the hour, but it gives you a base of where you want to get to with your target pricing as a base for calculating your packages, your monthly packages, your 6 months packages, your 12 months packages. It's just giving you like a hint of, okay, I maybe need to, instead of 2,000 euros, I need to charge 5,000 euros if I want to work with a client in that capacity, spending this amount of hours. Also including these calculations, the hours you spend on acquisition, on marketing, on maybe administration, on following up, on conversations, or whatever it is. So try to really price everything that you spend specifically to a client into that, and see where you end up with that. Then the second part is you don't go from day one where you have like 1,000 euros for a package, for example, to 5,000 euros, but you do that over time. So every time you have a client paying, let's say, 1,000 euros, you go to 1,200 euros. Then you go to 1,500 euros. And you have another client that pays, okay, 1,500 euros is good. Then you go to 1,700, 2,000 euros. And you go on and on. You build step by step up to your target pricing. Why it's important for you to do that is if you go now, you can do that, you can try it, but you're probably going to fail because you don't trust yourself enough yet that people actually will buy it, and people pick up on that. People feel like you maybe can't even like say the amount, like, but I had to practice speaking out loud the numbers I was charging and I wanted to charge. I just practiced that in front of the mirror, in front of my partner. We just talked about it. I said the number again and again and again until it felt normal for me to say these numbers. So it's really that incremental increase, that building your confidence in yourself, in the value you can give and bring to the clients, and that you're worth the money that these people are paying to you. And that's so crucial for you to show up authentically, that you know, hey, like, this is me and I deliver the value and there's people out there that buy it. So you can move on and further up towards what's really important for you. And if you reach a threshold, then you need to look at your target audience, your communication, how you show up, and all these things. But it's kind of like that simple step of incremental increases has so many like layers underneath, like psychological layers that are really, really important for yourself to stay true to who you are and what you're offering. That's really important to kind of not take these steps from A to C and just go all in. That usually doesn't work, I have seen. And the third part is, yes, the saboteurs, these voices in your head, they will keep coming back. With every increase, when you go for, if maybe you have in your mind 2,500, that's like, oh my God, this is so much. These voices come back up. You're not good enough. Who are you to charge that much? You shouldn't charge that much. That's not worth it. Nobody's going to do that. This keeps happening. That's just what's happening, like everywhere. Everybody has that. And these voices are okay as long as you recognize them and you're able to put them aside to say like, okay, I know where it comes from. I know my money mindset. I know my mother or my grandmother always said that. I know where it comes for them. They maybe grew up in the war, or they had like some scarcity around some other areas. It's their problem, but it's not mine. And then you can move through that. So that's a really important way as well. You see, again, these psychological layers here around pricing. There's a lot in this money mindset to unpack, but these are the most important parts I wanted to show you around that. If you have any questions around money mindset or any of the other areas, go for it. Like, that's absolutely fine. These questions we can ask and discuss them as well later on in the chat. Now, I give you a really quick exercise just to see, because what's your biggest goal now, right now? That is one big goal that you want to achieve. And that can be business-oriented goal, that can be a goal in your life. We talked a lot about 10,000 euros a month. Maybe that's your goal. Just think about what's most important to you right now. That can be many different things, but having clarity around it is really important. So I give you a moment to just think about it and have something very clear. That's okay. This is my one big thing. And then the other question, that's a coaching question that's very common. What steps will take you there? What's going to take you to that goal? What are the things you need in order to reach that goal? Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. Then your first step is to figure out the steps to get there. But having clarity on what is your number one goal on a couple of steps that will take you there, that's usually the fastest and easiest way to actually reach those goals. And most likely you're one decision away from success. And that decision is to take a step, to kind of take a leap. The first step is always the hardest. It's a saying, and it's kind of old but it's actually true. I've seen it so many times with my coaching clients, like that first step, that hurdle of like this discomfort to step into something new, because our neurosystems, we are made to stay where we are. Stability, safety, and connection. That's what we are hardwired for. That's what we want. And as soon as there's change, and even if it's positive change, but change is dangerous for our systems. So taking that one step, that one decision, and then actually acting upon that decision, that is so important to show your system, look, I took something that's maybe seemed so daring, and I'm still alive. So let's take another step and another step and another step to reach your goal. You might be dreaming of freedom, flexibility, 10K months, and a consistent flow of clients. It might be hard for you to find the time to actually work on the things that actually move the needle. And maybe you're not even sure what are the actual things that get you to this goal. Now, if that's something that you want to work towards, something that's resonating with you, then let's talk. I'm offering you, and I'm really happy to be able to share that. At 45 minutes, it's a free Zoom call. We can really dive into what is specific for you, for your business, because right now we only have like these general answers and these general learnings from me, but maybe there's specific things. You're going to look at what can you do to really get your business, your coaching business, your service business to the next level. We're also going to look at maybe something that you can stop doing, because maybe you're wasting your time somewhere and you can actually save time to free up time. And of course, I'm going to answer all the questions you might be having. And speaking of questions, I'm through with my content for today. With this link you see here, or the link that Karim just posted into the chat, you can sign up for that. I freed up a little bit of time in the next coming days. So yeah, you can talk to me personally if you want. But of course, we also have time now. If you have any questions, so also put those into the chat. If you have any questions at all, usually the first question is always the hardest one for people to ask, but after that, they're rolling. So shoot away. You have me here. Doesn't get easier than that. If I have anything I can teach or share, I'm happy to, but I also need to know, of course. So let me know what you would like to understand more.
So we've got a question that was sent to me privately, Miguel. Can I ask it?
Yeah, of course.
Money mindset and the inner saboteurs really triggers me. What were your first reactions when you presented your practice new prices, incremental increases?
Yeah, so I'm still feeling it, to be honest, when I just get this question. I felt super anxious. Like when I got challenged to increase my prices and to just think about the numbers that would actually get me to my goals, I started sweating right away, like physically sweating. I got anxious. I think the first 3 conversations, sales calls I had with clients, and I had to name the higher price, I just screwed up right away. I was like, I couldn't even say them. But it was good learning for me. Good learning for me to, okay, so what other work do I need to do? What do I need to understand? What's the value I'm providing? So for me, it was really hard to go through this process, but it helped me a lot to understand what is the value I'm bringing to my clients. And that was the biggest shift for me thinking as well. I was like, okay, so looking at the clients I've had before, looking at maybe the work I've done before, what are the things that people really liked about it? It doesn't have to be the exact same, but I have been delivering work before. I've been delivering certain projects before. I've been working with people before, with teams, with employees. So there was a lot of I could build upon. And realizing that helped me a lot to actually overcome that initial resistance and fear. And that was really helpful. That was really helpful for me to understand and then actually step by step name that price towards clients as well. I hope that helps. Let's have a look. There's more questions coming in.
Do you want me to read them to you, or do you want to read them, Miguel? What would you like?
I'm just reading through. That's okay. Thanks.
Oh, you're going to read them? Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. Any tips regarding building a web presence beyond social media? Yes, so I think a website always helps, but that's pretty basic. Again, use language that covers, connects with your audience also on your website. And that's always the hardest part, I think, to really come up with a copy that really connects. Blog posts, that's good for SEO, but that's something that's a long-term game. So social media is like the initial kind of like the usually you see the fastest results in social media, in partnerships. You can have many different channels. I always like to have a mix of platforms like social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever works for your audience, Instagram, TikTok. Look where your audience is, use those channels accordingly. But also be aware that whatever might work yesterday might not work today anymore. Whatever the things that got you a lot of likes and outreach and connections with people that you had yesterday on these platforms might not work tomorrow anymore. So you don't own your audience. If you have your own email newsletter, for example, if you have your own website and you have consistent traffic to it because you have SEO that works, because you have media partnerships that work, that's much more controllable for you. And therefore it's slower. It takes more time and more effort. But once it's something that works for you, this can be also a very good channel. And I think newsletter is something that I always called it the cockroach of the internet, this email. I don't know why, but it's still around. It's still one of the most successful tools when compared costs to actually what it brings. So that's definitely something I would also recommend you using. So websites, newsletter, blog you can use for SEO, probably not so much if you're beginning as an audience. And then the social media, I would also use that definitely as a part. Ekaterina, you're interested to hear more about that transition time when you left the corporate world. How did you choose what area exactly you want to freelance in? So for me, that was like a step-by-step process. So I think it was 3 years before I actually left. I already started working as a coach. I did my coach training. I was 1 day a week I took off. I had a very generous boss that kind of allowed me to work 4 days. And that allowed me to step-by-step explore different things without any financial pressure, to look what I want to do and to really experiment with the target audiences, playing around with what's relevant and what's resonating with me and my clients as well. That's always what I also would recommend. If you can. There's some noise. Could everybody check, please, to go on mute? Thank you. So always build up gradually. I think when you want to do like a big career change, either you can do it right away and you have already security. But if you want to step into the, let's say, the freelancing business, starting your own business, if you can, do it step by step, moving out of like a corporate job of a fixed role, and then more and more into that freelancing that allows you to actually have that freedom more and more. So I think step by step is the best approach here as well. Somebody asks, do you base your price upon the price asked by your competitors? No. I think the worst thing you can do, at least in the coaching world, I only speak for the coaching world now here, is to look at what other people charge, and that will give you down like the downward spiral. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. I can't charge that much. Or, oh my God, I'm way too expensive. Other people charge not that much. That's why the step-by-step approach is so important. Check your rate with your audience. If you don't know where to start, offer a 50% discount, see what happens, and then build from there. I only use it as inspiration, like upwards. When I see like somebody charging maybe 50,000 euros for a year of work with them as a coach, I'm like, hey, that's a goal, for example, I could work towards. That's something I'm not there yet, obviously. Otherwise, this webinar would have been called differently, not 10K, but 50K. But it's kind of like that aspirational, but don't get pressure, don't get the negative thoughts. And if you catch yourself looking at different people's rates and it has an impact on you, just quit that, focus on yourself, look at what is the value, try to calculate the value you are providing with your service for the clients, and then start from there, building this up step by step. Lale, in organization, there's a lot of questions coming. Wow, that's cool. Let me go through them a little bit quicker to make sure we have time for all of them. And if I don't get, by the way, if I don't get to the end of your question today, or if you feel like, hey, Miguel is not answering my question properly, then just book in some time with me. I'm also happy to discuss a bit further around what does it mean specifically for you. So Lale asking in your organization or corporation, whom should we connect with and reach out to offer our services? For example, is it the HR manager or is it like a PR manager, etc.? So that really depends on your service. So we're not really sure what you're offering. And it's worth, like, the bigger the corporate, the harder it is to get into. So maybe you don't start with the biggest group, but maybe like a company that has between like 500 and 2,000 employees, maybe even just 500 to 1,000, and see who is actually, talk to maybe a few HR managers, talk to maybe a few line managers, PR managers, marketing people, depending on where your services are, and just see where you get more or less feedback. Cold outreach is really hard. So that's really something that I just stopped, to be honest. Use warm leads. So if there's people you know in these companies, reach out to them and ask them who would be the best person to talk to. If you know colleagues or friends, like, use your network, and you would be surprised once you start digging a little bit, once you start asking your friends if they could maybe introduce them, you at, or your services at their company. Most of them will be open if you have something that you can share with them, like a one-pager, share that with them. They can send it to different people. And you have a high chance that actually people at least get back to you with some sort of feedback if they're the right people or whom they would forward it to. So I think it's really trial and error here as well, with warm leads. Cool. What are the platforms to search for clients in data analytics field? So you could go different routes here. One is definitely LinkedIn. I think that's for anything like in professional services in that area, that would be a good go. Use a tool like maybe Walaxy, for example, WALAXY, to do some outreach that helps to automate and just reach to more people, and just connect with them. Again, go through warm leads if you can. And another area might be to use recruiters, because there's a lots of companies that are like headhunters, recruitment agencies that work, especially in the data analytics, data science field, which is like a very, at least in the Western world, in Netherlands, Germany, UK, is a very scarce resource. Like these people with these talents are like, yeah, sought after. So work with these HR agencies, because they're also happy to introduce you as a freelancer, maybe for 3 days a week, for 2 days a week, to different employers as well. I'm not sure if that's fully answering your question. I don't know if you want to sell a service or kind of like yourself, your own time in that sense. But I think if it's about your time, your hours, your expertise, then that might be also a route to go. That's very easy. And there's very lots of online conferences about it. So maybe you can speak at a conference about a specific topic about it. That will also open up a lot of warm leads, which you then again can follow up later on with specific outreach there. Yes, let's see. Karim, yes, email is powerful. Rashad is asking, what do you think about using state-of-the-art technologies such as AI? Would it help growing the business? Do you yourself already have some experience with such technology use? Yes, so I have worked with, as I just said, Walaxy. I'm using some other tools as well. Not too many, to be honest, because I use them mostly to reach out to prospects, to connect with them. But I fully believe in authentic communication, in really one-on-one communication, so I don't want to automate that in any way. But that's really depending on my service, because it's a highly personalized service. It's one-on-one, tailor-made. I don't want to start that off with some sort of artificial kind of like AI-driven communication. You can have if you have lots of requests, if you have lots of incoming traffic, you can use AI tools for the chatbot, for example. There's lots of tools out there. You can have like a logic tree. There might be AI tools for content creation, like Jasper, for example. I've experimented with many of them. None of them really have served in the way that I would like to show up in the world. So I'm using them with very limited, sometimes for idea generation, sometimes for kind of like topic research. I have felt in my experience, at least, I always need my own kind of like at least 70% on top of that to make it work. But again, that depends on your use case and your thoughts that you might be having. Cool, Brian. There's so many questions coming in. That's cool. Can you give any tips or personal experiences on effective market research when going into a new venture? Yeah, so that I'm happy you're asking that question, because indeed that should be one of your first steps to do. And there's always the quantitative, of course, and the qualitative approach. The quantitative is just like, if you're talking about a new venture, that could be how big is the market, who is my target audiences, how many are out there. For example, if that's just a weird example, I don't know why it comes up right now, but if you're targeting the kings and queens, there might be just maybe 50 around in the world. And that might be an extremely lucrative target group, but it's very hard to get into unless you have an in, then go for it. But that kind of has the quantitative aspect is really important as well to look at. And then the qualitative part is really conversations. And I'm a fan of one-on-one conversations. So reach out to maybe friends of friends, colleagues, friends of colleagues, colleagues of friends, that are open for you to have a conversation of 15, 20 minutes and ask them questions about their problems, their struggles, their ideas, their goals that they want to, and to really understand, not just like, okay, I want to reach 10K months. I want to be financially independent. Like, what does that really mean to you? What does it really mean to these people? And you will be surprised if you really ask these follow-up questions without assumptions, without telling them anything, how much wisdom you get out of that. And you would also be surprised that maybe out of 10 people you talk to, maybe 2 would like to actually become a client of yours because they actually see that you understand their problems. I would say if you're like starting out, like really do 15 to 20 of these conversations with your target audience. But maybe also learn along the way that, hey, actually, I thought this was my target audience, but actually now it's shifting because I understand it better. And that's great. And then you just continue with that new target audience. One was, for example, I wanted to start working with the very, very early startups, and I realized they don't have money. So I actually started working with the first, the scale-ups, the first rounds of, they had the first round of funding and onwards. That's kind of like when I do, for example, leadership and teamwork. That's this area where I realized, like, before that, they're really interested, but it's really hard for them to find the money to actually work on these things. So again, I realized that through market research, that was really valuable for me to do and to look at as well. Tax question. Oh, wow. I like that you trust me with these kind of questions. To be honest, I'm not an expert on that. I have my accountant, and whenever I need to know something about VAT or tax, I go there. So I also would, recommend you to really go to that trusted sources. I'm basically a mess with that. So everything I'm going to say is going to confuse you more. So I'm not going to answer that question. Sorry for that. Is it worth to buy LinkedIn Premium? That's a very specific question. I like that. It depends. It depends on you. What I can recommend, try it for like 1, 2, or 3 months and see what you get out of it. That's a very specific question to, I don't know what your business is, but it can be really good because you get more access, you get more messages, it opens up a lot of doors. If it actually works in the end, in terms of clients and euros, that's really something to experiment with, but it's not so expensive that it's impossible for you to work with. So absolutely give it a try for 1, 2, or 3 months then stop using again to see what's the difference. Cool. And there's a few more comments. Franklin, last question here. What would be a good way to approach clients on LinkedIn? So I guess you're talking about like potential clients. Like the ideal way is that you don't need to reach out. The ideal way would be that you understand the messaging. As I said before, I'm going back to my basic points of doing your market research calls, understand what they're talking about, and then you show up. Maybe you use the LinkedIn newsletter feature. Maybe you do once a week or twice a week, you do a post, you share some content, you comment on other people's posts with certain elements. So you are seen as an expert in your area, and then actually people start reaching out to you, because if you approach clients on LinkedIn like inside out, you're already like 1-0 behind. Like 2 years ago, that would have worked, but social media, online marketing has shifted so much through the pandemic, but also since then, that it's so much more complex now than it used to be. It's so much more complex than before. People get flooded with messages because of all these bots. People don't even pay attention anymore to what messages they're getting unless it's from people they know. So LinkedIn ads, very expensive, very specific. If you target, so if you want to do cold outreach, I give you a tip, a trick. Identify maybe a list of 100 people, maybe 200 people. You can download in LinkedIn. That's now very hands-on. So everybody, like if you're interested in LinkedIn marketing, you can do that. I've tried it once, it worked really well. I tried it the second time, it didn't work at all. So I don't know what exactly changed, but you can download a list of people you want to target, maybe 100, 200 people that you feel like, hey, these are really the important people I want to work with. Then you can download that and you can target those people with ads, with videos, like really specifically. And then after maybe a month or two of them having seen your ads, you start reaching out to them. Then they already know you. Then they already think, maybe they already have seen you once or twice or 3 times before. They clicked on something, they read something about you, they have maybe downloaded a freebie from you. So there's a whole channel, a whole flow that you can install. Lots of details I'm running out of time to explain. But if you want to dive into that a bit more, how to set up such a funnel, happy to, thanks for sharing the link again, Karim. I'm happy to talk about you, to really see how can we set this up for you and your business in that specific case. All right. My voice is slowly giving up. So thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. That was really cool. It's really exciting. Also, like very specific questions. That's always cool to see, because that means like you really are understanding where you are. Again, you can send me a message, book some time with me, send me an email. I'm really happy and looking forward to hear from you, and just to see, what you're taking away from this as well. Thanks, everybody.